Commissioners for Thursday, January 24th. I will call this meeting to order. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners Wooden. Womack. Voorhees. Long.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Vice Chair Stepp.
Here.
Commissioner Sparks. Present. Skaggs.
Here.
Salfeld.
Here.
Constein. Morgan.
Here.
Melton. Present. Coleman.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Hennessy. Here. Wilkowski.
Present.
Breavy.
Here.
Antor.
Here.
Chair Bolter. Here. Madam Chair, you have 16 members present, 3 absent. You have a quorum. Thank you, Madam Clerk. On to item 3. I'm going to call on Commissioner Wooden for invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to bring up Sister Mary Bridget Klingman of the Marywoods Dominican Center. Commissioner Womack was very kind to bring in my father to lead invocation last meeting, but as a result, he did poach my pastor. But necessity is the mother of invention. I'm very glad to have Sister Mary here. So why don't you get us started?
God, our mother, our father, our creator and lover of all creation, of all life. You invite us to be one in God's beauty, truth, and unity. You give us the words of his servant Paul, who left us with many words. Paul tells us, we want you to do is to pray. Pray every way you know how, for everyone you know. Pray especially for rulers and their governments to rule well, so that we can be quietly about our business of living simply in humble contemplation. We pray because it helps us to recognize our own weaknesses and causes us to humbly bow before the sovereignty of God. Prayer is not protest, it is petition for the common good, excuse me, that we the people can be quietly about our business of living simply in humble contemplation. Prayer changes the dynamics of politics by enabling the revolution of love and changing the atmosphere. First, aversion toward those who are adversaries is done away with, for no one can feel animosity toward those for whom they pray. And they again are made better by the prayers that are offered for them, by losing their aggressive disposition toward us. Prayer can bring change. We want to be able to live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness, which will draw us to the good news and the knowledge of truth. Paul equates our deepening gospel growth with peace. We should pray for this peace that gives birth and life to the common good, the beloved community, which invites us to a prophetic way of life and caring. God already has made it plain how to live, what to do. What God is looking for in men and women is quite simple. Do what is fair and just to your neighbor. Be compassionate and loyal in your love. And don't take yourselves too seriously. Take God seriously. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Wooden. Good job. All right. We are on to item 5, special order of business. I'm going to call up Cal Brinks to give us an update on the Kent County Fire Commission.
Good morning, Board. I'm Cal Branks. Most of you know me in my role as purchasing manager here at King County, but actually I'm here today in a different role. I'm here as a role as your county liaison to the Fire Commission. I also want to acknowledge in the audience today is Jennifer Venema. Jennifer is Caledonia clerk. She's also the chair of the Fire Commission Board, and so she has joined us today as well. So really, why are we here today? What's the purpose of us coming today? And it's really twofold. First is to make you aware that we will be coming to you in February to request that you modify the contract between Kent County and the Fire Commission Board, or the Fire Commission members. In order to do that, that's a rather complex thing to accomplish, very difficult to do. And so in order to you to make informed and good decisions, the board realizes, the Fire Commission Board realizes that you may not be fully informed on the activities of the Fire Commission, a very long-standing commission that has been in place here at the county. And so really the other purpose is to give you the history and basic information in executive format so that you become informed about Fire Commission, its activities, so that when we come to you to request that you modify the contract, you are informed and understand why we are asking you to do that. I'm going to start today with the history of the Fire Commission. The Fire Commission goes way back to 1942. It was established then by the Kent County Board of Supervisors to provide fire protection for the unincorporated areas of the Kent County. So if you go back and imagine that time period, the population was based principally here in Kent County, and there was no fire protection in the rural areas. And the Kent County Board of Supervisors established the Fire Commission to provide fire protection for the unincorporated areas of the county. When we look at the Fire Commission history, we can really put it into three buckets. And that's how I'm going to present it to you. In 1947 to 57, the Fire Commission operated with a single county fire chief to coordinate the activities of this fire protection. During this time period, you renamed the fire department to the Kent County Fire Commission and developed a 5-member governing board to oversee the operation. From 1954 to 74, as the county grew, as population moved into the townships, there was rapid growth of townships. And during this period, the townships began to develop fire stations and put apparatuses in these fire stations. During this period, there was mutual aid agreements between the Fire Commission, acting as fire protection, and the surrounding cities. And so there was this environment of collaboration that was going on. In 1969, the Fire Commission Board was changed from 5 members to 7 members. And the Fire Commission employed during that period 3 employees that worked under the Fire Commission Board direction. In 1978, there was a major event in the life of the Fire Commission. In 1978 and 1979, but primarily in 1978, the Kent County, us, the agency, entered into contractual agreements with most of our members of the Fire Commission in this period. This contract remains basically the same since 1978. In this contract, at the same time, a formalized assessment formula was developed. And this assessment formula is how the members are assessed for the cost of the fire operation. The Fire Commission consists, and it depends how you count them, but approximately 18 members. So standing here, if we look towards our north, almost every township, village, is a member of the Fire Commission north of Grand Rapids. As you look to the west, Ada, Vergennes, Lowell are members, and as you look to the south, Caledonia are members of the Kent County Fire Commission today. The Fire Commission is governed by a 7-member board, 2 representatives from the Kent County Board of Commissioners, and today it's Commissioner Morgan and Commissioner Antor. 1 road commission representative, And you have to ask, why is a road commission representative on the fire commission board? If you think back to the 1940s and 1950s, we had to have a place to put our fire trucks. And so we stored them at road commission facilities. So it made perfect sense to have a road commission member as a fire board during that period. We also have 4 elected officials from our member departments who serve the board. What is included in membership? Included in membership is a purchase of a new fire truck or pumper every year, year and a half. We have a rotation. The Fire Commission Board sets the rotation, and each member is rotated a truck. This year, Granton Fire Department will receive a truck, and the Fire Commission is collaborating with Granton to do that. All members contribute to the purchase, so it's not only Kent County, but for example, Caledonia contributes to the purchase of this truck as an addition to Kent County. We have maintenance and supplies for the county-owned pumpers. So each of these fire apparatuses are titled and owned by Kent County, and we maintain them, including the maintenance supplies and the repairs, which is a significant event if you're a small township. We have access to county purchasing, to state bids. Kent County Purchasing's assistance with equipment apparatus purchases. Apparatus purchases are incredibly complex. And some of our townships, some of our agencies don't necessarily have the expertise. And so the purchasing office, your purchasing office, and we have staff who do that, collaborates with the departments and assists them. And we file Kent County purchasing policies and procedures and bidding. We also do collaborative bidding. And so we are able, because of the Fire Commission, to bring all these members together in a very efficient way and collaborate in bidding. We also do, example, oxygen tanks. We're able to collaborate because we are a tight-knit organization as opposed to loose individual townships, and we were able to save significant money through collaboration. And probably the biggest benefit of all is fleet insurance, group and fleet insurance, both for county-owned vehicles and for department-owned emergency vehicles. And so we're able to pool our resources. I'm going to use the 2016 budget because that's a very common budget in my example, and a very overview, executive format, give you information about the budget. So in 2016, our Fire Commission budget was $699,000. The way it's broken down is operating expenses. Operating expenses in 2016 were $329,000. Of the operating expenses, Kent County contributed $165,000 towards the operating expenses, and the member departments were assessed $165,000. And I'm rounding, as you can see. The apparatus purchase. The Fire Commission contributed $192,000 towards the purchase of the apparatus. In 2016, it was for Cortland Township. The county contributed $96,000 towards the purchase. The members contributed $96,000 towards the purchase. The members are assessed a membership fee annually. Kent County is not assessed the membership fee. The members contribute as well to the purchase of the apparatus. So back in the 40s and 50s, we were able to pay for the entire fire apparatuses. Inflation and complexity of fire apparatus and needs, it far exceeds our ability to pay for them. And so the Fire Commission Board determines annually the contribution, and the local member has opportunity to design within the requirements that we set with them additional items for the purchase. So a fire truck may range anywhere from $350,000 to $500,000, in some cases even more. And so the fire member pays for anything over the contribution. The county pays and purchases the apparatus in advance, and at time of delivery, the member department is invoiced and reimburses the county for the expense over the contribution. County apparatuses are well maintained, and so when they're rotated out of the inventory, approximately 17 years it takes to get a rotation, the member department has an opportunity to purchase the apparatus from the Fire Commission at a depreciated 20-year straight line depreciation. And most of our members will buy and the apparatus back from the Fire Commission, and that revenue is returned back to the Fire Commission and specifically the county. So in summary, in 2016, the county contributed $260,000 towards the operation of the Fire Commission, and the members were assessed $280,000 based on the assessment. The assessment is an incredibly complicated formula. If you remember back in your days in school when you're in algebra and the teacher said, listen, because you're going to need it someday, here's the perfect example of why you should have listened and needed it someday. It is incredibly complex. It is calculated, and I'm not going to go into details, based on 3 criteria: operating expenses, 50-50 county and the members, based on population, SAV, and members' local fire investment. I don't intend to get into all the details because it is complex and you have other valuable things to do. Apparatus annual purchase split 50-50 by the county and the members to assist in the purchase of the apparatus, and then the members are assessed the fee. The assessment is calculated by your purchasing office at the end of the county's fiscal year, or sometime in January when the county closes our books. Your purchasing office calculates the assessment, invoices the members for their contribution, and receives payment. All invoicing is done in arrears, so Kent County is paying for the expenses up front, and the members are expensed on the assessment formula in arrears based on actual expenses. So in summary, what's the Fire Commission all about? It's about collaboration. In my opinion, collaboration is best. Kent County is incredibly unique in our ability to collaborate in this area. What makes it unique? It is county support through financial and administrative support. It is our unique ability to power the leverage of purchase. The perfect example, a very desired benefit is the group insurance. It is managing risks. So imagine, and it happens, a small townships tooling down the road and their fire apparatus blows an engine. Incredibly expensive. The members, the Kent County Fire Commission and our members share in that collaboration and together absorb the cost and assess it back to the membership department. So we're managing risk, we're collaborating in the procurement area, and we're assisting in cash flow for our departments. So that's the history of the Fire Commission. So what? Maybe it's interesting, but why are we really here? In 2016, the Fire Commission Board said, we need to deal with the assessment. What was good in 1978 may not necessarily be good today. And so we looked at the assessment. To get to the assessment, you need to get to that 78 contract and peel it away. Can't change the assessment unless we change the contract. That is why we're here today. But the fire board at that time in 2016 said, well, if we're going to deal with the assessment and make it fair to the members, make sure that the county is not, through that contract, have additional exposure but is capped at what we contribute, we need to look at everything. So let's peel away. And so the Fire Commission, starting in 2016 and 2017, the board held work sessions and they unturned every stone about the operation of the Fire Commission. They looked at the governance. Is it appropriate to have a road commission member, or should we look for expertise in that area in emergency and bring them on board members because it's difficult to fill the board? We look at governance. Do we want to continue to have the purchasing division act as liaison administrative Fire Commission? Fire Commission could go out and hire that service. Looked at the value of membership. What's really important to today's members? There are some things that were benefits that are no longer important. And looked at membership in itself. What happens if a member leaves? What happens if a new member requests? None of that was formalized in '78, and so it was all defined. So the timeline, on December 7, the Kent County Fire Commission Board approved the contract modification and requested the county administrator to recommend to you the modifications and to request for you to take action on it. Obviously, today we're here for the sole purpose of providing you information so that you can make informed decisions when we come and ask you to modify the contract. On February 5 is the intent to bring the contract modification action request to the King County Finance and Physical Resources Committee and recommend that this contract be modified. If the Finance Committee chooses to approve this and forward it on, it will be brought to the full board on February 14 at your night meeting and request for you to vote on the modifications. If that happens, there's one additional thing that what has to happen. The 78 contract requires that 3/4 of our membership vote and favorably vote to modify the agreement. So if you authorize the modification of the contract, it will be sent to our membership and request to vote in a yes or no, up or down vote. If it is passed, we will move into the new contract and execute the agreements with the members. If it is not passed, we will return to the 78 contract and continue to operate under that contract. So in conclusion, the Fire Commission, alive and well. These are all fire trucks, and I'm closed with a little trivia for you today. If you're out and about and you see a fire truck, especially if you're north of town or to the west of town, look at the door. And if you see in the door that says Kent County, you know it's a Kent County fire apparatus that is purchased in collaboration with our members. The truck before you is the truck that was purchased in 2016 for Cortland Township. A wonderful truck, first responder, that was purchased in collaboration with King County Purchasing, and with all of our members, and is a first responder vehicle for Cortland Township today, and will continue to be. So that completes my presentation, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
If there's questions, it's up to you.
We'll open it up. Thank you,
Yeah.
Cal. In the interest of time, we'll take a few questions, and if you have more extensive questions, I'm sure Cal will be available as well. So does anyone have any questions today for Cal? Commissioner Antor.
Just actually a comment. Cal, I wanted to thank you. This was, I guess we'd consider it a heavy lift. And the amount of work that you and your department put into this is really amazing to me, because this wasn't an easy venture by any means. Cal, I call him my favorite bean counter. We get such great value out of him. I sit alongside him at these meetings, and he dissects everything down to the nth degree, and I really appreciate that, because a lot of people think in government we don't have that, but I got total confidence in Cal and the purchasing department. I just wanted to thank you for everything. And also Diane Jones for bringing this forward when she was the chair. Thank you, Diane. It was a lot of work.
All right. Any other questions today? All right, you must have gave a good presentation because you only got one question. So. Congratulations, thank you. All right, moving on to item B under number 5 of our agenda. Just want to introduce the sheriff and bring her up today. The sheriff did request this opportunity to speak today in light of kind of some of the events that occurred last week, and this is kind of following her media briefing from Friday. I know you've reached out to several board members and members of the community as well, so we welcome you and appreciate you wanting to address us today.
Good morning. I appreciate this opportunity this morning, and I'll try to be brief. I just want to start with a written statement, and then I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you guys might have afterwards. Thank you, Madam Chair. As I stated last week, I joined the friends and family of Mr. Hilmar Romas Gomez, as well as the residents of Kent County and others who expressed concern and even outrage over the treatment of Mr. Romas Gomez by ICE officials in December of 2018. Because this is an ongoing investigation, some details are still being reviewed and assessed. However, what is clear is that ICE detained Mr. Romas Gomez on the basis of either incomplete or inaccurate information they were responsible for gathering and verifying. As outlined in my statement last week, the role of the Kent County Sheriff's Office in this situation was that of a holding facility. We do not have the ability or authority to verify citizenship or check the immigration status of a detainee, or to verify the reason for detaining that person. Despite what you may have heard or read elsewhere, the Sheriff's Office was not the investigating agency in Mr. Romas Gomez's case, and we did not contact ICE regarding his incarceration. During our review of this incident, It was determined that the Grand Rapids Police Department contact ICE in conjunction with their arrest of Mr. Ramos Gomez. As sheriff, my primary goal remains the preservation and enhancement of public safety, due process, and the rule of law. Based on that, I notified ICE officials last week that the Kent County Sheriff's Office will only hold ICE detainees after ICE presents to our office an arrest warrant issued by a federal judge or magistrate. The change was effective immediately. Since then, we have taken several additional steps. We have met with a number of you to address your questions. We have also provided additional information to the ACLU as it conducts its review. Furthermore, we have shared information regarding the policy change with the Sheriff's Department staff, and I have sent a letter to the family of Mr. Ramos Gomez expressing my concern as of the handling of this case. This new process will increase the level of oversight of ICE detention requests presented to the Sheriff's Office. It also is consistent with our handling of all other criminal cases that pass through the correctional facility, and it addresses a gap in the federal procedures, which will improve our ability to serve our community. At this time, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions for the Sheriff today? Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, I don't have a question because I was able to be one of the ones meeting with Michelle on Monday. She very definitely and carefully opened up her office hours for questions. A lot of unknowns still, as you said, and yet, Michelle, I so appreciate that you took this bold step forward. You're right, what happened to this young man is not correct. He served our country, and yes, his actions needed to be dealt with. He was certainly not making good choices, but to necessarily decide right away, I hate to put it this way, but it seemed as if, based on perhaps his name, that the ICE needed to be involved, was very troubling. And so I and many of my constituents just thank you very much for taking the courage, and doing the right thing often is not popular and requires a lot of courage, and I admire that. Thank you very much.
I echo the sentiments of...
Commissioner Sparks.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I echo the sentiments of Commissioner Betsy Milton. Thank you for allowing us to come into your office on off day and understand more of the situation. And I hope that this does lead to some form of action that will eventually in the contract. But this is a step in the right direction, and I hope that other people understand that there are processes and procedures, and that you are working on helping Kent County be a safe place for all of the residents. Thank you.
Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Sheriff. Are we any more clear on the actual actions that the suspect in this case did, or is that still under investigation as far as was there a fire actually set? Was there fire alarms that were activated? I wasn't sure if that was...
That has not been part of our investigation, and I am not privy to the exact details of the events that happened prior to him coming to the correctional facility. I know that the GRPD is currently looking through that situation, so I would probably defer that question until their results are final.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Sheriff. Could you provide us an update on whether or not, how ICE has received this information we've given them now that we will not honor these holds without a warrant? And also, has there been any further developments on whether the existing intergovernmental service agreement can force compliance with it and have to honor these holds while it's present?
I would say that's still a very ongoing process, and I would not wish to speak through that until we've worked all the details of that out. But we can give you an update once we have worked through all those situations.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other questions for the Sheriff today? Board members? Commissioner Balkowski.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Sheriff. My question goes to the bigger issue that we've been talking about since last June. Are we closer to starting to schedule the wider community conversation about the relationship between the Sheriff's Department and county and folks of color, especially the immigrant community?
Yes, we have been working, and I think there is probably a more formal update coming today on that, but we have actually on a parallel been working together as an internal committee to set up the structure of the more in-depth group, and that's going to be moving forward outside of the internal group here in the very near future. But again, this is a very diverse issue. There are a lot of factors to it. So we're trying to ensure that we collect balanced information and move forward based on an informed discussion as opposed to a preconceived notion.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions today? All right, thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 6, which is our public comments. We'll move on to that in 1 second. Where's my script here? All right. As has been our practice in the past 3 years, individual public comment is limited to 3 minutes. A person wishing to address the board is requested to state his or her name and address. Person may address the board on matters or issues which are relevant to the county government, and the time for public comment shall be 3 minutes. As you might see, at the request of many, we do have a new clock, so we're not rudely interrupting you. And we will ask Linda to start that at 3 minutes as you begin, and we'll begin. Come on up. Can you come up to the microphone and state your name?
I've been in county jail, and I wasn't mistreated. I don't totally agree with what happened to Mr. Ramos, but I do agree that we need to have our law enforcement and our government working together. What I learned in the military, I can be a very dangerous person if I chose to be. I believe Mr. Ramos is disabled like me, and he's dangerous because of what he did. And I think that the way that I was treated while being incarcerated in county jail is just precautions that are in place now, and the way that Mr. Ramos was treated as a person with disability and as a person who served and as a Mexican American, that it's just fair. I learned about God in the city of Grand Rapids. And I've learned that in the Kent County Jail. When I tried to become a part of Ocheta, they told me I was white privilege. And they told me that I could not walk when I was far out in St. Peter Falls in that open. Today, my white privilege, I see no representation on this board. Our parks are not developed to mere reflect other parks. But I still am a citizen of the city. It's a great city. And I believe, like the city of Wyoming, and Granville, and Holland, people of color are appointed, like Joe Jones, or Quincy View. We just have more work to do. I think that policy is addressed by the Honorable Sheriff, and she said, the word in her letter, which I read, was competence. We need to use a little bit more of that. Would I like to see Chicanos and Latinos up here? I sure would. But I think things are good the way they are because we're growing. We're the best city in the state. And with that, I pass.
Thank you for your comments today. Anyone else wish to address the board? Good morning.
My name is Hema, and I live in the west side of Grand Rapids. I'm sure that I don't have to mention the unjust, terrible wrongdoing and uncalled for racist story of U.S. veteran and combat Hilmar Gomez. His mom was going to come and tell you all the pain and suffering that caused her the separation for her son. She's not here today because she is finally getting reunited with her son at this very moment. She was willing to miss a day of work because she is usually working in a factory at this time of day on Thursday morning, but she must rather be with her son at her son's side. I cannot speak for her because she has come forward and she's spoken for herself, but I'm going to tell you one more time, and I hope this is the last time, about what I have witnessed firsthand: her anger, her disbelief, her deceiving, her frustration, her disappointment and pain, and her courage at the end. Since June last year, Movimiento Cosecha GR respond to ICE, faith leaders, concerned public, affected community, the ACLU, Michigan Human Rights Center. We have come here time and time again, and we did many actions until 7 wonderful people was willing to give up their freedom just to call out this injustice. We participated in rallies and tell you stories like Gilmar's case to demonstrate the Kent County Jail contract with ICE was not just unnecessary, but it was morally wrong. So that damaging the complicity with the institution that is ICE, that disregards human dignity and have put kids in cages, separated infants on their moms, and has been responsible for the death of many detainees in their custody. In the last few months, 3 little kids, immigrant kids, have died in their custody. We have told you that you can do something about it. We have told you that you have the opportunity to do right by the immigrant community. We have told you that you can show that Kent County listens and cares about human dignity. We have told you that you could and should end ICE contract. I told you last time I was here, I wasn't lying about the pain and suffering of my community. I felt that an apology now is not enough. I believe that Gilmar and his mom deserves more than an apology. We deserve from this commission to end the meaningless contract once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the community would like to speak for public comment? Good morning.
I'm Amy Carpenter. I'm an organizer with Movimiento Cosecha GR and GR Rapid Response to ICE. I'm here with Nerida. And we, just as Hema has said today, we believe that it's your duty to go a step farther. And so we have a new letter, completely clear, for folks to sign and show that you're with us. Nerida is going to read it first in Spanish, and then I'll read it in English.
Del condado de Kent, nosotros, los abajo firmantes, reconocemos nuestra responsabilidad con nuestros vecinos inmigrantes. Ahora que el contrato con ICE ha finalizado efectivamente, gracias al arduo trabajo y la organización del movimiento Cosecha GR y GR Grand Rapid Response to ICE, ahora pediremos que el contrato se termine oficialmente sobre la base de la acción tomada por la oficina del sheriff para poner fin a las reservas del ICE. No hay ningún propósito en mantener un contrato con ICE. Además, resolvemos limitar la cooperación con ICE y apoyar a la comunidad inmigrante del condado de Kent. Gracias.
So what we're asking you to sign is a pretty low bar at this point. We, the undersigned Kent County Commissioners, do hereby recognize our responsibility to our immigrant neighbors. Given that the contract with ICE has effectively ended, thanks to the hard work and organizing of Movimiento Cosecha GR and GR Rapid Response to ICE, and could all of those with us stand up, please? We will now call for the contract to be officially ended. Based on the action taken by the Sheriff's Office in ending ICE holds, there is no purpose in maintaining a contract with ICE. Furthermore, we resolve to limit cooperation with ICE and will support the immigrant community of Kent County. Signed. Who will sign this? come out on your social media saying it's time to end the contract? Are you gonna come around, come be with the people? For your people? Are you gonna come sign it? Commissioner Talon? Commissioner Wooden? Commissioner Sparks? Commissioner Melton?
All right, 3 minutes is up. Thank you so much for your presentation today.
Skaggs?
Anyone else would like to address the board, please? Come up and state your name and address.
My name is Sister Mary Bridget Klingman. I'm the promoter of justice for the Dominican Sisters of Grand Rapids. Our congregation has supported the documents that were received to you from the ACLU and from Merck. We stand with them in asking you to affirm what you have just been asked to do. Our experience in this reality is that we have for many, many years been involved in work with undocumented persons, both in Michigan and in New Mexico. We have seen the suffering. We know that the conditions under which many of these people have come to our country are of violence, of poverty. We have had sisters in our congregation arrested by the police of Guatemala. We have long-standing history of our work with immigration. We urge you to sign what you have been asked to sign. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Good morning.
My name is J.R. Martin. I live in Grand Rapids on Anishinaabe land. And like other people here, I am glad for this change to the county's policy with respect to ICE holds. I truly am. But I would just say that for me, the news that the county agrees with us about the inexcusable nature of what was done to this family, that raises another question and makes it more glaring than ever, and that is, why would you trust a single word that ICE says? Why would you trust anything that comes from ICE? The policy has been changed now so that the county will not hold anyone unless there's a warrant signed by a judge. But does Kent County really want to keep shaking hands with the agency responsible for this just as long as they promise to be more careful? I think if anything should be clear from the last 2 years and from what we've been saying at these meetings over the last 6 months, it's that people from this agency do whatever they want, if we let them. But the good news is you don't have to let them. You can just end this contract. Again, we've made it really easy for you. You can sign this document. You can take advantage of the national spotlight you have right now and this opportunity to say that ICE is not an institution that deserves respect or allegiance from anyone. And so you can take this moment for what it is and just make it very clear that ICE is not welcome in Kent County.
Thank you. Any other public comment today? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Miriam Ackerman. I'm with the American Civil Liberties Union of Michigan. Thank you for letting me speak this morning. I would like to applaud the sheriff for listening to the community and for restoring checks and balances to our system. Hilmore's case vividly highlights why local law enforcement agencies should insist on judicial warrants rather than handing members of our community over for deportation based on ICE detainers, which, as we saw so clearly here, are error-ridden and unreliable. Hilmore had his U.S. passport, his military ID, he was wearing his U.S. Marine Corps tags, he had his driver's license, a Real ID compliant license that showed he was a veteran that you can only get if you're lawfully present in the United States. He had his KDL child library card, you know, the one with the little KTL elephant on it with the pink ears. He had all of those things, and ICE still issued a detainer on him. No judge looking at that evidence would sign a warrant for someone to be arrested for deportation based on that kind of documentation. That's why detainers are dangerous and why the sheriff made the right change in policy here. What she did was critical. I think that this is a model for other law enforcement agencies. What happened to Hilmar should never happen to anyone, not here in Kent County, not anywhere in Michigan, and not anywhere in the United States. We particularly appreciate that the sheriff has said that she will advocate for judicial warrants nationwide. Other communities should not wait to have this kind of trauma happen in their community before they make the kind of change that she has made here. ICE detainers are a recipe for disaster. Between 2007 and 2015, almost 700 U.S. citizens were held in local jails on detainers. And ICE itself incarcerated over 800 citizens in immigration detention. Between 2008 and 2012, ICE issued detainers against over 28,000 lawful permanent residents. So unfortunately, what happened to Hilmar is the predictable and inevitable consequence of detainers. So we hope that other communities will follow the sheriff's lead here. And we look forward to working with the sheriff to work with other communities to do the same thing. I want to acknowledge that there's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of questions, and we look forward to seeing the results of the investigation as more information comes out. We look forward to seeing how this policy is implemented and to seeing what the impact on the community will be. And we encourage you as leaders in our community to make sure that we take the necessary steps going forward to make other changes that are needed to ensure that Kent County is a truly welcoming community. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to the sheriff.
Thank you for your comments. Good morning.
County Commissioners, my name is Hillary Skolton. I'm an attorney with the Michigan Immigrant Rights Center. Thank you for hearing us out today. I joined my colleague, Mary Mockerman, in applauding the sheriff's decision to provide much needed oversight to immigration and customs enforcement. We are already seeing the immediate changes in the community as a result of this policy. This is a new day in Kent County. For too long, ICE has operated with complete unchecked power in our community and wreaked havoc. We have heard stories over and over again of the disaster and the tragedy that ICE has inflicted in our community with the consent of our government. And we have called on the Commission and the Sheriff to do what they can to take steps to end that. And the Sheriff has taken a big and bold step to end that. We stood here before you in November and asked you to look within the Commission and join us in a conversation about other ways immigrant communities and communities of color are targeted here in Kent County. We asked for a dialogue, and we heard nothing. That invitation to conversation is still open, and we hope that this extreme and egregious example will spark a broader conversation about how immigrant communities and communities of color are treated here in Kent County. And we look forward to being a part of that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Any other public comment today? Good morning.
Hi. Pardon me. I've never spoken in front of you before. I've stood on this carpet and shouted ICE out of Kent County. You may have recognized me. My name is Marie Claire Camp. I live in Kent County in Grand Rapids. I have 2 kids that go to Grand Rapids Public Schools. I work with Movimiento Cosecha and Rapid Response to ICE. And you may have seen me first in June when we did stand on this carpet. And there's a lot that's happened since then. We've been talking out about all the different things that have been happening in the immigrant community over and over and over again, if you've been paying attention. We made this letter today. Amy before held it up, but it's just symbolizes your commitment to call for the end of the contract. a lot of you, as Amy said, have put out on social media that you're with the immigrant community, you're with Cosecha. You've already done it publicly, so why not just like put your signature on this that says that you're going to like continue to advocate. It's not like a binding legal contract, right? It's a commitment that you're gonna do something and stand with the people that are behind you here. You're gonna stand with people that are not able to be here because this meeting is at a ridiculous time. It's really hard for people to get here. I don't know if you've had a lot or this much attention before, because it's like people have kids and jobs, and this meeting happens when people are taking care of their kids or trying to drive them to school or trying to live their lives. So I don't know if you've gotten this much attention before. And for people to be here, despite all of that, is a really big thing. So I've got a Sharpie here, and I really want you to think, like, when you're sitting here in this fancy desk with this things around you and this carpet that you've blocked off, think about what role you have in this community, and think about maybe like stepping across these 2 armed guards that you have here and like engaging with people here. Just like consider it. So again, I brought this. It says that you're just gonna stand with the community and you have a responsibility. It's not like I will do X, X, X. It's just like we'll resolve to limit cooperation with ICE and we'll support the immigrant community of Kent County. It's already essentially like done because ICE holds have nearly stopped. Just like put it, I'll even open it for you here, okay? And I don't know if I'm even allowed to like approach you anymore. I don't know what's allowed. I don't know that there's like someone's gonna arrest me for like attempting to engage with you. I don't know. So I'm just gonna stand here the rest of the time and just like hope that somebody comes over and makes a commitment.
3 minutes are up. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Any other public comment today? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to item 7 on our agenda today, which is the consent. Oh, oh, please come forward.
Not sure why he was waiting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm just going to leave this here, okay?
Sure. Sorry about that. I didn't see you.
That's fine.
Welcome.
My name is Russell Olmstead, Grand Rapids resident. Although I'm not a member of Cosecha or Grand Rapids Response Team, I definitely support their actions wholeheartedly. What they're asking for from you as elected officials is exactly what your responsibility is as elected officials, to protect the people of this community, all of the people of this community. I've had personal conversations with some of you leading up to the most recent election, and you campaigned and promised that you would be supporting this end of the contract. And I'm appalled that given the opportunity to sign that in public, that you're not doing so. You have power, and power not used is power wasted. And power wasted is power lost. You need to speak for the people who elected you, alongside the people who elected you, and do the right thing. Please take the opportunity to do that. Show the people that you are on their side. Show the people what you have said behind closed doors and in public on Facebook. Do the right thing. That's all they're asking. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment today? All right, seeing none. We are going to move on to agenda item 7, and I will call on Commissioner Wooden to.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move adoption of the consent agenda for today's date. Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wooden, support by Commissioner Kallman. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Madam Chair, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Or Madam Clerk. Sorry.
On the motion to adopt the consent agenda, Commissioners Wooden,
Yes.
Womack,
Yes.
Voorhees, Funk,
Yes.
Talon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks,
Yes.
Skaggs.
Yes.
Salfeld.
Yes.
Ponstein. Morgan.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
Bulkowski.
Yes.
Breeby.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Chair Bolter. Yes. Madam Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. The resolution to adopt the consent agenda is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will move on to item 8, resolutions. 8A, I'll call on Commissioner Hennessy.
Thank you. I move resolution number 3 as of today's date, and this is for the appointments to the Land Bank Authority.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do I have a second?
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Hennessy, support by Commissioner Steck. Any questions or comments on this issue? All right, seeing none, this is not a roll call vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. On to item B. I will call on Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move adoption of Resolution 4 of today's date.
Thank you, Commissioner Wooden. Do I have a second?
Second. Support.
Moved by Commissioner seconded by Commissioner Sparks. This is a roll call vote. Is there any questions or comments on this issue? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the motion to adopt Resolution 124-19-4, Commissioners Wooden.
Yes.
Womack.
Yes.
Voorhees. Vonk.
Yes.
Talon.
Yes.
Vice Chair Steck.
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks.
Yes.
Skaggs.
Yes.
Salfeld.
Yes.
Ponstein. Morgan.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hennessy.
Yes.
Bulkowski.
Yes.
Breeby.
Yes.
Antor.
Yes.
Chair Bolter.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays. The motion passes. Resolution 124-19-4 is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to 8C, I will call on Commissioner Breeby.
Thank you, Chair. I move item number, or Resolution 5 of today's date, the 2017 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant from the Sheriff's Department.
Do I have a second?
So support.
Moved by Commissioner Breeby, support by Commissioner Melton. Any questions or comments on this item? This is not a roll call vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Resolution passes. On to item D. I will call on Commissioner Antor.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Resolution number 6, today's date.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do I have a second?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Breeby. This is not a roll call. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Resolution passes. We are now on to item 9, which is public comment, 1 minute. Do we have any public comment for 1 minute today? All right. Oop. Seeing none, on to item 10, reports, commissioner reports. We may have a further discussion on reports in another couple, once Rules Committee's done, but we do want to make sure that all the commissioners that are on subcommittees and boards are reporting out everything that's happening. Certainly don't want to hear it in the news before it's being mentioned here at the board, so please, if you can't make it and you need to report something, please let us know or send us all an email so we are aware of what's happening with all of our important commissions and boards. Any commissioner reports today? Commissioner Salfeld.
Thank you, Chair. The Rules Committee did meet this morning, right before this meeting, and just got going organizationally with our every 2-year review of the Rules Committee that we bring back to you for adoption. Nothing really to report at this time. We took in comments that Linda had noted during the course of the last 2 years and talked about some that, we had also identified. Our next meeting is, we're still not sure on the exact date, but obviously that'll be posted.
Okay. Thank you for all your work on that, Commissioner. Any other, Commissioner Morgan?
Yeah, just a brief report at the Ford Airport. Traffic was up, I think, 16% last year. And Allegiant has announced that they're adding more flights and establishing Grand Rapids once again as one of their home bases. So work continues on the front door of the airport. We're entering into phase 2 of our Gateway Transition Program. As you will remember, phase 1 was the great room and the consolidated checkpoint. Now we're looking at the ticketing, the front door of the terminal, and trying to reorganize the ticketing and the baggage claim area, and we hope to have that done by the end of 2019. So as far as trying to get out in front of news reports, there's a lot going on at the airport, and we're getting great coverage. I don't know if I can keep up with that twice a month, so
Jeez.
just letting you know.
All right, sounds good. I feel like it's always going to be like flights are up and everything's good.
Well,
so. But thank you.
Things are good right now.
All right, yeah. All right. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Experience Grand Rapids had their first board meeting, and the new visitor's guide to the Best of Grand Rapids is out and available. There's also quite a bit online, so I'll just leave this in the back so that I can share it with everyone.
Thank you. Any other? Commissioner Talon.
Thank you, Chair. The Grand Rapids DDA, Downtown Development Authority, met a couple of weeks ago. One of the shortest meetings I've ever experienced, but a couple things of note. We received the audit of 2018, and there was a 1.6 million change in the net position to the positive, primarily from the sale of property. As developments are happening downtown, a lot of that is happening on former parking lots, many of which were owned by the Downtown Development Authority. The other thing of note, there were some statistics shared there. I wanted to share those with you just for your information. There are in the works 1,700 new parking spaces, over 614 hotel rooms, and 344 residential units. That we're now at about 4,700 units, looking at around 6,000 residents. It's been a goal of DGRI to try to get that number up to around 10,000, because that's when it's kind of an understood point where retail, grocery store, those kinds of things start to make sense for a neighborhood. So that information just for your background.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Any other reports? All right, we'll move on to item 11, Commissioner Miscellaneous. Commissioner Melton.
Thank you, Chair. On a very sober note, I just would like to formally give my sympathies and condolences to the James King family, the young 17-year-old teen who was shot in Kentwood, and I can't even imagine what that would do to a family. I hope I don't ever have to experience it, but I want their family to know that our thoughts and prayers have been with them throughout this. And then I don't know who's in Granville. I'm sorry, I don't still have everybody quite down yet, but the former Mayor Buck, who passed away, and I never knew him as mayor, but his grandson played tennis. Too much information probably, at the same time my son did, but on the Kentwood team we also had a Jacob Buck. So it became kind of a fun thing for us, and that's how I got to know him. And what a neat man, at least in that capacity. I don't know him the other way. So just those two things, and just again, it's very riveting when something like that happens in your school district. So
thank you. Any other Commissioner Miscellaneous? Commissioner Womack.
Yes, I just want to say that I'm proud of our sheriff for moving us to a more balanced approach when it comes to dealing with ICE. There's definitely two sides to every story, and I know Kent County has to support ICE in its mission to stop terrorism, but there are some missions that they are on from our executive orders of the United States of America that has brought a lot of public uprest. And after the detaining of a Marine that's a Grand Rapids citizen, last week our sheriff did make some announcements that some people in my community were very happy to see, and there are others that are looking to see, a total end of the contract, but I at least want to acknowledge that. I think that was a great move by our sheriff, and I definitely support her in that, and look forward to hearing more from the community on what they think about that issue. Also, I went to a lot of Martin Luther King events last week. Last year, we had a great event with Kent County by our administrator, Wayman Brick. And I just hope as Cesar Chavez events come up that we're able to partner with our Hispanic community and help do some acknowledgement of his contributions to the United States of America as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Talon?
Thank you, Chair. I probably should have done this during reports, but I wanted to acknowledge, I'm the county's representative on the Local Emergency Planning Committee, and we met on Tuesday. And Jack Stewart, who's been the Emergency Management Coordinator for the county for a long time, is retiring again. Wanted to note that contribution that he's made and acknowledge that the new person taking over is Lieutenant Lou Hunt, and we look forward to working with him and continuing to protect this county and the citizens in the case of chemical emergencies.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other Commissioner miscellaneous? All right, seeing none, I would like to call on Commissioner Wooden for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move to adjourn, subject to the call of the chair, to Thursday, February 14th, 2019, at 6 p.m. for an official meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Womack. We are adjourned.
All you